Nch'u7 Xwalacktun Queenshna. So I said my name is Xwalacktun in Squamish, but when I was growing up, my name was Rick Harry. So I grew up with Rick Harry, but later on received my real name through a ceremony, and that ceremony is what my dad threw out for the whole family. When we received the name, it is now a responsibility, because to carry that name, many other ancestors carried it. So we have to keep that name clean. That's what the elders say, keep that name clean, because you're carrying the family's name. You do not want to dirty that name. I'm living here now in the village of Xwalacktun, and Xwalacktun is now called Capilano. But this is where my mother is from, on my mother's side. Moving over towards where my father is by Seymour Creek, and he carried a chief's name from there, a hereditary name. So hereditary chief's name is in our family. My younger brother is carrying that name now, Galton. And thank you. And so I live here now in Xwalacktun, but I grew up in one of our older villages called Squamish. Squamish is the one right in front of a big chief. We call the big chief in Squamish. And if you can see another mountain in the background, it's called Nch'u7, which we now call Mount Garibaldi. But I'm sure these names will be changed back to its original name, with the movement that's happening with truth and reconciliation, Because Garibaldi is actually the name of a ship that came in Howe Sound. Even Howe Sound has the name. When I was 12 years old, they brought a carver in from the northern area, and I think his name was Doug, if I recall, and he taught our people, and I started carving, and I enjoyed it, and I was 12 years old, and I never stopped carving, just kept doing it. Now I'm 65 this year, so I got over 50 years of carving. And most of that, after that, I just learned mostly through trial and error, because I didn't have anyone sit down with me and teach me how to carve. It was just that one weekend carving thing that happened, inspired me to do some carving. Okay, now what I want to share with you is what's behind me. It's called Xwalacktun. Xwalacktun is here on the beach of Swatwe. Swatwe is what we now call Ambleside Beach here in West Vancouver. And the piece is made of cortan steel, and it is cut out with a water jet. It's 1 inch thick, and this color represents red ochre. And that red ochre for us symbolizes protection. So we always seek for protection for all things, not just ourselves. And then I have a thunderbird, I have a canoe, I have 2 paddles up, I have glass that looks like abalone shell, glass with copper oxidation, and there's a whole story behind it. And down on what it sits on is a basket. The basket is made out of brick, and the basket, Coast Sailor's basket, represents where you gain your wealth, you gather your medicinal plants. So it talks about nurturing, about growth, about healing. The basket's for the wealth, for gathering. The paddles up represents to show respect for one another, to come in peace with one another. The Coast Sailor's eyes is to remind us that we're always being watched by all things. And the outline of this is the bridge, what we call here Lionsgate Bridge. But we talk about the story of the sisters. The sisters came together, and there was a northern sister and a Squamish sister. They came together and they brought peace to the people. So it symbolizes them of peace. The Thunderbird is something greater than us, but it also represents the Squamish people. We use the Thunderbird as our logo for Squamish. The canoe is facing the water, and the canoes always want to face water, so it will symbolize balance and journey, our journeys together as one. Again, the peace, the paddles are up. So in the canoe, we're all one. And some places you might hear same, but we're all different. But we're all still one on what we call Mother Earth. Mother Earth is our vessel, which takes us on our life journey. Like the canoe, it takes us on our journey. Just like the canoe and the earth, we've got to maintain balance in order to survive and go where we want in our life journey. Sometimes I allow the work to change on me without even really paying attention to it, because sometimes I feel it's coming through me, like the ancestors are coming through me to help me, right? Because there wasn't a lot of Salish art to be seen, right? So I had to come up with it somehow. So I always kind of stay tuned in who I am and what was behind me, the ancestors behind me, right? And what do I want to leave for the ones that aren't here yet? I made some changes probably at the age of 27. I started searching for myself, who I am. I used to go to like sweat lodges. I went on canoe journeys. I went sacred runs. I did a lot of different journeys which helped me find who I am, but also learn more about my ancestors, my community, my family, and just kind of learn what can help me, you know, be who I am today, right? So I pray, I sing. When we sing songs, it's not just singing. There's prayer behind it, right? Because traditionally for our spirituality, we would get up early enough to jump in the water, and we have a cold river bath. And that opens up our spirit and wakens our spirit. And a lot of our songs come from that, like, oh, 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 hey, hey. So those sounds are coming because the water is cold, but it helps you bring your spirit up. The piece I was doing for here for Van Tech, the project was focused not just my community, but there's also other communities, the Tsleil-Waututh, the Musqueam, but we're all related. There's lots of intermarriages that happen, you know, so there's an overlap of people, but although the artwork is designed in Coast Salish, so it could represent not just us here in this area. There's the Stalo, there's the Kitsi, the Semiamu, Sowasan. I mean, there's 9 of us just in this little area here. So it could represent us too. Listening to the announcements in the school, and I would raise my hands every time I heard it. When he acknowledged the 3 nations that are in the area, they acknowledge it over the PA system that we're here on Coast Salish territory, the Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam. And the images I have on there is the thunderbird, which is representing the Squamish. The wolf is representing Tsleil-Waututh, and the salmon representing the Musqueam. The wolf represents family, because you're working with one another. The thunderbird is something greater than us, but it also watches over us, like a protector. And then the salmon is representing the plentiful, you know, because we were rich with so much salmon, right? Because back in the day, even my father in Squamish, he said, you know, when the salmon were running this creek, it was like the creek became moldy, because there's so much salmon you could not see the rock bottom, because the water was crystal clear. And when I do projects in the school, I leave it open at times, you know, where students could have a go at carving. You know, they get to understand the tools, get to understand the grain, and just kind of get a feel for it, you know, and they could learn. And I would teach ideas of sharp tools is no different than the brain, right? If we keep the tools sharp, it's going to be easier to work. If we keep the brain sharp, it's going to be easier down the line to work. So the students also help me out at times in some projects, help me out with some design. What would you like here to represent the school? son, he came back from Thailand once and he brought me a t-shirt. It said same, but different on the back. On the back says but different. So I look at that, we're all the same, but we're all different. All our messages are the same, but we tell our stories differently. Or we use different imagery. Right? So we just have to really look at that, which actually connects us as what we call stomach, which I am a human being. In our culture, we're connected to everything. And we have to respect that, because that helps us survive as human beings. Because without them, if we disregard it, we're going to end up with nothing and we're going to perish ourselves. Right? So we got to look after our balance on Earth, because it looks after us. Like Chief Seattle. Chief Seattle says, the Earth does not belong to us. We belong to the Earth. People are struggling, they don't know where they're at in life, you know, things happen in their life to bring them where they are, and you know, they're just human beings too, so we have to help them out. But sometimes in our canoe, sometimes our weakest is our strongest link. If we help them out, it'll help us out. Sometimes we have our community help us out. Like I was sharing about the canoe, if we're all in the same canoe together and you're struggling, you can't make it, we have to uplift you, because we want you to carry your own weight and feel proud of who you are, because you're helping us move this canoe forward. So we want you to be strong in mind, body, and spirit, so that you're able to pull along with us. So we get there together.